For 100 years now, the Three Stooges have entertained millions of people worldwide with their unique brand of slapstick comedy. They are probably Hollywood's most popular and influential comedy team of all time. But Moe, Larry, and Curly, and also Shemp, never got the recognition and compensation that they deserved. We'll explore this and more in the life and careers of the Three Stooges on this episode of Rerun Zone.
Of course, I say Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls!
In 1922, an act called Ted Healy and His Stooges made its debut on the vaudeville stage. Healy, a popular vaudeville comedian, would come out and give a humorous talk about the day's current events. Then he'd go into a song or tell a story while being interrupted by his Stooges. The original Stooge was Moses Harry Horowitz, otherwise known to us as Moe Howard, but he was soon joined by brother Shemp and Philadelphia musician and comedian Louis Feinberg, or Larry Fine. Although the Stooges are known for their outrageous slapstick humor, Ted Healy practically invented their form of slapstick, as he would hit, slap, or poke the Stooges on stage to howls of laughter from the audience. He was an abusive drunk, a terrible boss, and would stiff the Stooges out of their fair share of the money. One day, Moe went to Healy and Healy told him, "If you're unhappy, maybe you should quit. I can have you replaced by dinner time." Moe backed off and never brought it up again. In 1930, Healy and His Stooges appeared in the Fox Studios film Soup to Nuts, but the film flopped as the spontaneous slapstick act didn't translate well to the big screen. Fox Studios liked the Stooges, though, and offered them a contract to appear without Healy. When Healy found out, he was furious and quickly put a stop to it by saying the Stooges were his employees. Fox backed out of the offer, and when the Stooges found out about it, they decided to leave Healy and go out on their own. Healy told them if they used any of their old routines, which he considered his own copyrighted material, that he would bomb the theaters where the Stooges were playing. He then hired replacement Stooges to try and save his act. Healy knew he had lost a good thing, though, and by 1932, they had settled their differences and began working together again. Not missing a beat, Healy again began to abuse the Stooges physically, and Shemp was getting the worst of it. Shemp, who was very phobic and easily scared, decided to leave the act when he was offered the role of Nobby Walsh, Joe Palooka's manager from the popular comic strip, in a series of upcoming movies. Now a replacement was needed for the act. Shemp suggested his younger brother, Jerry, but Healy, who was already enraged over Shemp leaving the act, saw Jerry and said he didn't think he was funny. He also thought Jerry was too handsome for the Stooges, with his thick, long hair and handlebar mustache. Moe and Larry weren't really confident in Jerry either, as Moe told Shemp that Jerry had no talent whatsoever. That immediately changed when Jerry raced on stage in the middle of a Stooges performance at Shemp's urging, with a freshly shaven head, wearing a bathing suit, and carrying a tin pail of water. He got a huge laugh from the crowd, and one of the most talented comic performers of the 20th century was born. With the team now together, MGM signed Ted Healy and His Stooges to a one-year contract to do 5 shorts and make a couple of appearances in full-length feature films, including Meet the Baron and Dancing Lady with Joan Crawford, Clark Gable, and Fred Astaire. When the contract expired, the Stooges and Healy finally went their separate ways. Healy met a violent death in 1937 while at the Trocadero nightclub in L.A. He was out celebrating the birth of his first child when he got into an argument with a couple of guys with ties to the mob. The drunken Healy challenged them to a fight, and Healy was literally beaten to a pulp. The next day, Healy was found dead from his injuries. No arrests were ever made, and the investigation was mysteriously dropped. Moe renamed the act the Three Stooges, and they went on the road doing a restructured version of the old Healy act. It wasn't long before Hollywood came calling again, and Columbia Pictures had signed them to a one-year contract. During their first year at Columbia Pictures, theater bookings for the Stooges shorts took off. Harry Cohn, then president of Columbia, used the Stooges to get what he wanted. The trio's shorts were so popular that Cohn wouldn't give them to the theaters unless they agreed to show the studio's mediocre B movies. During their 23 years at Columbia, Cohn also made sure the Stooges didn't know how popular they were, so he didn't have to pay them any more money. He made the Stooges sign new contracts every year, telling them the shorts department was losing money and may have to close down at any time. They were also being ripped off by their manager, Harry Rahm, a friend of Cohn's. It wasn't until after they stopped making shorts for Columbia that Moe found out how Cohn had swindled them out of millions. The boys were paid only $1,000 for their first short, divided 3 ways, and at the top of their popularity, they only received $20,000 each per year, while Columbia was raking in the profits. Now Curly, who took the brunt of Moe's abuse, would endure punches, slaps, smacks, and bonks on the head, which started to take their toll on his health. He had a series of minor cerebral hemorrhages, slowing him down, and he no longer made it to any of the Stooges' personal appearances. Shemp came in to make appearances in his place, and Curly's doctors insisted that he also take time off from his filming schedule. But Cohn refused to give Curly time off and insisted that he continued working, even though his health continued to decline. Fans started noticing some changes in Curly's appearance. He was getting thinner, his face grew gaunt, and his high-pitched voice seemed strained. But it was during the filming of Half-Wit's Holiday that tragedy struck. The director called all actors to the set to film the end's pie fight sequence, and everyone showed up but Curly. Moe found him slumped in a chair, his lips twisted up, and unable to speak. Curly, age 42, had a stroke, and it was a big one. It was Curly Howard's final appearance as an official member of the Three Stooges. Moe went to Cohn to talk about just him and Larry continuing the act, but Cohn flatly turned him down. He saw the Stooges act as unsophisticated and thought that anyone could replace Curly. After endless auditions for a new Stooge, Moe finally went to his brother Shemp, who was reluctant to return as his solo career had taken off. But he was under contract to Columbia, and Harry Cohn stepped in to make sure Shemp rejoined the team. Of course, he expected Shemp to take a 50% pay cut as a quote-unquote reward. Shemp didn't want to return, but realized that if he didn't, his brother Moe and his old friend Larry's careers would be over. So out of loyalty to them, he rejoined the act until Curly regained his health or they could find a permanent replacement. In the third film after Shemp rejoined the group, Curly was visiting the set, and director Jules White had him sit in on one scene just for fun. It was a cameo in the short, Hold That Lion. The boys search a passenger train for a crook who swindled them out of their inherited fortune. They come across a sleeping passenger with a derby hat over his face. They lift the hat, and we see a sleeping Curly who snorts and barks himself awake.
What is that, a Cocker Spaniel? No, I think it's just a Spaniel.
The boys replace the hat and move on.
That's not him.
It was the only time all 3 Horwitz brothers were seen together in the same film. Curly, now with a full head of hair, looked good, but in the next 5 years, a series of strokes continued to plague his health. It was the last time we ever saw Curly, as he was sick until his death on January the 18th, 1952, when he died from a cerebral hemorrhage caused by successive strokes. Shemp stayed with the Stooges for nearly a decade, until the night of November 22nd, 1955, when he and some friends were leaving a boxing match in a cab. Shemp lit a cigar and then fell to the side. Samuel Horwitz, otherwise known as Shemp Howard, had died of a massive heart attack at only 60 years old. By 1956, Moe thought that he and Larry could continue as the Two Stooges, but Columbia flatly refused, so Moe was forced to look for a replacement for Shemp. Burlesque comedian Buddy Hackett was considered, but Columbia insisted on someone already under contract to the studio. Enter Joe Besser, a vaudeville and radio comic actor known for his character Stinky on the Abbott and Costello show. Besser had seen what had happened to Curly and had one condition, a clause that forbade Moe from hitting him. Contracts were signed, and Besser was introduced as Joe. He appeared for the last 16 Stooge shorts with Columbia, and many fans consider them the worst of the series. By 1957, shorts were becoming a thing of the past, and director Jules White informed Harry Cohn that he was shutting down their production. A few days later, after 24 years of service at Columbia Pictures and having made the company millions of dollars, the Stooges were canned. In a slap to the face, Moe returned to the studio a few weeks later to say goodbye to some old friends and was refused entry by a security guard. Moe and Larry began to think about hitting the road again to make personal appearances, but Besser left the act, and Moe and Larry had to start looking for another replacement. Columbia wasn't done cashing in on the Stooges yet, though, and in a surprise move, they began packaging Stooges shorts and selling them to local television markets. It began a resurgence in the Stooges' popularity, as 78 shorts, mostly with Curly, were sent to TV stations around the country. The shorts were an instant smash, especially with kids, and soon all 190 Stooge films were in circulation and attracting big audiences. They were picked up by a variety of networks across the U.S., and the Stooges were suddenly in high demand again.
Hello. Hello. Dr. Howard, Dr. Fine, Dr. Howard speaking. I'm fine. So am I.
Moe and Larry resurrected the act with Curly Joe DeRita filling in as the third Stooge. DeRita was also under contract with Columbia and seemed a perfect fit for the act. He had also been a comedian in vaudeville and had done a series of shorts for the studio in the 1940s. Kids took to Curly Joe like an old friend. With DeRita now on board, the Stooges went on to make 6 more films and a cartoon series called The New Three Stooges Show, with 41 new live wraparound segments for the cartoons. They also appeared on numerous television shows and were one of the highest paid live touring acts in America. In 1969, they began filming a pilot for a new proposed TV show called Kook's Tour, where they would travel the world visiting famous sites. It was not meant to be, though, as on January the 9th, 1970, while producing the pilot episode, Larry suffered a crippling stroke. Although unfinished, producer Norman Maurer put together a 52-minute special, which was released to the home video market in 1973. It is the final film in which the Stooges appear and the team's last performance.
Hi, remember us? That's how we made our living for 50 consecutive years.
Yeah, we got scars to prove it.
And I still got a few of the aches and pains.
Yep.
Larry entered the Motion Picture Country House, an industry retirement community, where he was visited by Moe and hundreds of fans throughout his final years. Moe, determined to keep the act alive, asked fellow Stooge alumni Emil Sitka to take Larry's place. Stills were shot with Moe, Emil, and Curly Joe posing in costume, and a script was written for a new Stooges film, but nothing ever came of it. Larry had another stroke in mid-December 1974, followed by a larger one 4 weeks later, and after falling into a coma, he died on January 24, 1975. He was 74 years old. Moe retired and toured the talk show circuit for several years before being diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. He died a little over 3 months after Larry on May the 4th, 1975, at 75 years of age. Joe Besser died on March the 1st, 1988, at age 80, and Joe DeRita died on July the 3rd, 1993, at age 83. The Stooges shorts can still be seen worldwide today on TV, DVD, and home video. Not a bad legacy for 3 funny-looking guys who meant well, had a great time, and made us all laugh while doing it. What was your favorite Three Stooges short? And were you a Curly guy or a Shemp guy? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, this is Rich from Rerun Zone, signing off.
Hello.